Frank, how does it feel now that you've actually shown a little bit of Halo 4, at least?
It's a big relief. I mean, I think that a lot of the stuff that we've talked about in the past has been historical, or it's been DLC for Reach, or it's been Reach itself and Halo Anniversary, of course. But the vast majority of the team, and there's more than 200 people, have been working on this for 2 or 3 years, and so it's a great relief to finally get the engine out there so that people can see how the game is going to look approximately. And even though it's a tiny, narrow sliver, I think there's a lot of information in that footage and in interviews like this that are going to give people a glimpse into what our vision is for the future of the game.
You do realise people will be picking apart those trailers now for months to come, second by second, cutting into every single screen you can see.
Yeah, I mean, we have conversations about this. You know, we'll be going over the videos before we show them and saying, I know that this community is going to get really mad about that, and some people are going to assume this, and so we've got it down to a fine art, but that doesn't mean we can prevent it or calm everybody's jangled nerves. So, well, all I can say is to that every stripe of fan, you know, from the fiction people to all the way up to the professional gamers that we've thought about it, and it's taken care of.
This definitely feels like this now feels like you're finally drawing a line in the sand between past and present and now future.
Yeah, I mean, of course, and that's a sort of practical aspect of getting towards the ship of the game. But I mean, really, our biggest critics and our biggest pressure is our own team, and it's internal pressure that drives our ambition for the game and our ambition for the universe. And so that's what gets us out of bed every morning. That's what gets us to stay there late at night.
You mentioned fiction earlier on. One of the big things in the presentation you talked about was that the development, the character development of John Master Chief has, for the most part, been in comics, been in books and such like that. Do you consider that to be the core element that you wanted to take forward with Halo 4?
It's a hugely important element, and fiction actually now is fully integrated into our multiplayer as well. But I think the complicated short answer is no, because there are different types of Halo fan. There are Halo fans who only play Halo so they can do Warthog tricks. There are Halo fans who only play Team SWAT in matchmaking, and there are Halo fans who just love the fiction. And so our job is to try and make everybody as happy as can possibly be. And try and do that, and this sounds weird and it sounds impossible, but try and do it without compromise. And Halo is pretty well understood at this point, and it's the risks that we're taking with the new stuff that we'll have to take a wait-and-see approach to, and hope that people love them as much as we do internally.
I guess it would be that case of you just have to take that confident step of saying, look, we know what we're doing here. We appreciate the fan feedback, but you have to trust us, really.
Yeah, and it's, you know, historically, you're never going to make all the people happy all of the time, but you're absolutely right. If you don't have self-confidence, and more importantly, I think self-confidence can be really overrated and lead to bad decisions, but you have to believe in your people, and you have to believe in your vision, and you have to do your damnedest to get it out there and have it look the way you want it to look, feel the way you want it to feel, and have it be as polished and experienced as possible. And so if you don't believe in it, and I think that's different than self-confidence, it's a belief in the final product, and be nervous and be scared and be terrified at the scale of the challenge, and you can still get to that, and you can still ship the thing that you wanted to ship.
Talked about in the presentation about the feel of a Spartan, of a feel of this 900-pound superhero. Is that more a case of how you're looking now at how Master Chief will control in the game, as in the moves he will pull off and the things he will go through have that weight behind them?
Yeah, you know, it's a combination of factors. It's exactly what you just said. It's how you move through the universe, and obviously the obstacles that are in that universe that you have to deal with. But it's also a bunch of other more subtle things. It's things like the sound effect. Things like the general sort of audio scheme that we've built for the Spartans and the Master Chief in particular. But there's some things that we haven't revealed that were definitely teased and hinted at in our trailer that we just released that will speak to that, but they're just the tip of the iceberg. So I think that one thing I would say is if you're a Halo player for the last 10 years, you'll be able to pick up the controls and know exactly what to do.
You talked about the audio there. Is that a case of having to reapproach everything? I mean, you mentioned obviously enough the battle rifles reappearing, but even something like that, getting that iconic sound, are you having to reapproach that and go, we're going to make that different? But
So we're not making things different to just for the sake of it. I mean, obviously, you know, in the case of certain types of weapon, we'll take the base sound that existed in and you know, the sounds have changed every single game. You know, they've gone through every iteration, 1, 2, 3, ODST, even Reach, and we're doing that. It's just that I think we're doing it a little bit more radically, and you probably heard the sound, at least of the battle rifle, during the demo, and it's a much more visceral, pounding sound, and that's more of it's not like just a battle for volume. It's this drive to put more intensity and a more visceral feel in every single combat situation. But everything is based in grounded in and I'll put it in quotes, the reality of the original Halo objects, where they're repeats, and of course where there are no sounds or no sounds. So
New threat for Master Chief, something that he's never come across before. Will fans expect then to have to retread and reread all the fiction that has been up to now and feel like they can find something in there, a hint at least of what they should expect?
Absolutely not. I think that if you've never played a Halo game and you're curious about it and you like the way that it looks, there's nothing to do. There's no research. You'll be able to step into his shoes and understand the basic premise, which is that you're a hero who's been in cryo sleep for some time, and everything after that will be explained properly and with beautiful graphics and great audio and wonderful music. So you don't need to know all that stuff. But I will say this, if you have read all the books and the comics and stuff, there's a bunch of stuff we've been sneakily doing for the last 3 years that will create these really fun moments of resonance for fans, really hardcore fans, that should make all that investment that they've put into the rest of the fiction really pay off.
I was going to ask that. I mean, are you planning, obviously not if you've got the game coming out, but are you planning to continue a support per se for comics, for books, and can you see the Halo universe expanding from this new waypoint, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. The Halo universe has always had a rich sort of history of fiction. The very first piece of Halo extended fiction actually shipped before the game. It was Fall of Reach by Eric Nyland, and it helped set up the basic premise of the universe and a lot of the backstory. Of course, we've gone deeper and wider since then and created a very, very rich tapestry of a universe that we draw from all the time. So we plant seeds out there and we let them grow and flower into things that you'll see in Halo 4. But we're also able to draw from that fiction and from the talents of the writers that have contributed to that universe.
Talking about Master Chief's armor and look, what I thought you were about to just go there. No comment on that. But talking about Master Chief's armor, I mean, it looks even more impressive than obvious enough before, and you guys have put in so many more smaller details into the fabrics and stuff. How do you reapproach that to make it look distinct from what's become before?
So every single Halo game, the Chief has ended up looking different, and sometimes it's a jump in platform from Xbox One to 360. Sometimes it's just a change in the general art direction. He's only ever changed his technology once in the fiction, and it was Mark V to Mark VI. Armor. We're not even doing that this time. There is a fictional reason that his armor looks different this time, but most of it is in the service of art and design and animation and so on. And you'll see a lot more flexible pieces in his armor this time around, and that's actually going to come into play in the game and in the cinematics and in the way that you navigate your way through the universe. So it's a function of many, many things, but there is a canonical reason for it, but that's the smallest of all the reasons for that redesign, and it's a tradition in Halo games that goes back 10 years.
Now, we focused on multiplayer for the majority of the presentation. For whatever reasons, you guys have decided to flip it round, as you said. Are you guys splitting development between multiplayer and single player? Because you stated that the multiplayer components, the maps and all, are completely created, self-created. It isn't being lifted from the campaign itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I definitely want to start my explanation of that by pointing out that while the multiplayer maps, a lot of the multiplayer maps in Halo Reach appeared to come straight out of the campaign levels, it wasn't like somebody just drew an octagon around a piece of the campaign and snatched it out. They were built in parallel, and you know, they were a great collaboration between the multiplayer designers and the campaign designers. And we did take a different approach this time and just kind of split off the development of the maps. So that each of the maps was a bespoke map designed for its purpose in multiplayer, whether it be competitive or whether it be some of the other stuff that we're talking about later. But it's more a case of creating things that are directly and only suitable for the main type of activity that you do in those maps. I don't want to give away too much about our game types. And I think that the second part of that is that we've put our multiplayer designers and our campaign designers much closer together, and they interact with each other much more directly than they typically have in the past. Not that they didn't in the past, but that it's effectively like a big team with soft edges rather than two very distinct teams, and so you get a lot of benefit from that, and it's really starting to show in the multiplayer space.
How hard is it not to reveal certain things? Obviously, you guys have been very, very terse about what you're revealing at this point, and understandably, you have a set pattern for what's coming over the next months. But do you just feel you just want to let rip and go, look, grab the mic, this is what's going to be happening because of the excitement's there?
I mean, honestly, I've been doing this for so long that sometimes I get in a cab and the cabbie says, "Where do you want to go?" And I say, "I'd like to tell you where I'm going to go, but perhaps I can give you the information at E3." You know, yeah, it's muscle memory at this point, and it's the bigger version of that is that we've been working on this game for 3 years and we've been desperate to show something, and so this has been a big pressure release for certainly for me, but obviously the vast team of vastly more talented people back in the studio, and they can finally look at their work and see how the public reacts to it. And you know, for some of these guys, they're old timers and they know how the public's going to react, positive and negative. And some of these guys are young, and this is going to be an eye opener for them. But for a crusty, leathery old soul like me, it's none of it's a surprise.
Well, for that crusty, leathery soul, what keeps it fresh for you?
The universe. I was sitting doing those demos today, and I thought of, I can't tell you what it was I thought of, but I suddenly had a breakthrough moment with a problem that I've been having with a piece of the fiction, and I suddenly realized what the solution was, and it was sparked by something that somebody said. They didn't literally say what the thing was, but there was a word or a phrase that they said that made me think, I now know exactly how to solve that problem. And that happens every day, and you have these little moments of revelation and inspiration, and they just keep it fresh. And I've never, I moved to Bungie because I loved Halo, and I stayed with Microsoft because I loved Halo, and you couldn't tell 12-year-old me playing ColecoVision on a black and white TV that this was a real career, and that this was a real job, and this would one day be a real opportunity. And so I'm definitely blessed in that regard, but it's hard work too.
Listen, thank you very much indeed for the time. It goes without saying, looking forward to seeing the final product, and I'll probably see you at E3.
Definitely. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Cheers. Great.
Yeah.